Hey guys, Brandon Oquindo, Salt Lake City, Utah, real estate broker, entrepreneur. Today I wanted to talk to you about the 5 worst things about living in Utah. Before we get into it, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Make sure you hit the link below. I can help you with your property. If you're looking to buy a property, if you're looking to sell a property, we buy properties, we remodel properties. So make sure you hit that link below for a free consultation. I'll give you some information about real estate in the area. Let's dive into the 5 worst things about living in Utah. Coming in at number 1, snow. I love snow, but a lot of people don't like snow. So if you're not loving the idea of living in a place where you actually get weather like that, this is probably not the place for you. Our winters are definitely affected by snow. Some worse than others. Some years are really good, some years are really bad. This year has actually not been too bad at all. We haven't got that much snow. If you don't love snow, I'd say number 1, weather, snow. It's everywhere in the winter, so if it's not something that you enjoy driving in or experiencing, this is definitely not the place for you. If you want palm trees and you want warm weather, you like that sort of thing, this is not the place. But if you love the snow, this is definitely a place for you. Number 2, the snow brings tourists. Lots of tourists. Lots of people come here for the snow because it is the greatest snow on earth. We get a ton of people here throughout the season that are trying to experience that for themselves. If you don't like being inundated with tourists at certain times, this may not be the place for you. We get a lot of tourists in the summer. We get a lot of tourists in the winter. Definitely more tourists in the winter, but summertime they come too. I like it. I like meeting people from around the country, around the world. I like when people come experience my city and really love it and they want to be here too, so it doesn't bother me. For a lot of people, they don't like that much activity and the place getting that busy. So tourists, I would say, coming in at number 2, one of the worst things about living here. Number 3, you hear about this on the news. Unless you live here, you don't get to experience it. Air quality. With the snow comes poor air quality. We live in a valley, so we're essentially a bowl. We're a giant bowl. And what happens is in the winter, the weather differentiation makes it so that the smog, they call it inversion, gets stuck in the valley and it can't escape. And so that makes our air quality sometimes in the winter really bad. So if you have an aversion to poor air quality, that might be something you want to consider. Once a storm rolls in or once we get some wind, it typically clears it out. But sometimes there could be days where we just have really bad air quality. So if that's something that impacts you, something you don't want to experience, this may not be the place for you. I would say all big cities have smog. That's pretty common. But what's unique about Utah is that we are a giant valley and it just gets stuck and it's kind of weird and it gets hazy and it does get a little gloomy, I'll admit. And so it's nice when a storm comes in and blows it out. This winter, we haven't had that many storms, so we've had a lot of inversion. But anytime a good storm comes in, that'll roll it out. Number 4, kind of weird, grid system. So Utah's entire valley is built on a grid system. People that move here don't really love that. I actually love it. When I first moved here, I didn't like it because it was weird, it was different from me. But now I love it because you could tell me any place in the valley and I can find it. It's like a game of Battleship. But in this case, when you're moving here, if you don't know your way around, it can be a bit of a challenge. So the whole valley is built on a grid system and it's kind of a north, south, east, west grid system. And so once you get your bearings, it actually is a super efficient system. And I think most cities should design their grid system like that. But in this case, when you're new and you don't know your way around, it's really challenging because people use that grid system to identify where they're at and how to get there. And last but not least, having to do with the mountains, the altitude. We are a really high city. We have high elevation. We're the Wasatch Front, so we have tremendous mountain ranges and tremendous mountain peaks. Our valley sits at about 4 to 4,500 feet in elevation. So if you have an aversion to altitude, sometimes, for example, when I have clients that come here from really low elevation, sea level, for example, they have to adjust to that altitude. The air is thinner. It's definitely harder to adapt to, but once you get used to it, you can go down to sea level and you can run circles around people. So keep that in mind. Altitude is definitely one. Here's a great example. When you get here, if you're coming from sea level, first day, don't go to the mountains. Maybe take a day, ease your way in because you will get sick. A lot of people get altitude sickness. So keep that in mind. Coming in at number 5, altitude sickness. Those are, in my opinion, the 5 worst things about living in Utah. Some of those things some people love, including me. Some of those things people hate. Keep that in mind if you're looking to move here. Also, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below. If you'd like to get information about buying property here, make sure you hit the notification button, the link below. I'll definitely send you some information. Hit me up. I appreciate the follow.